In his book, The Outliers, famous author Malcolm Gladwell coined what is now known as the 10,000 hour rule. Gladwell wrote that if you want to become an expert in something, if you really want to become a world leader, you have to have talent and ability, but you also have to put in a lot of work. You have to put in 10,000 hours. Hi, this is Ruvain Spolter with our weekly Kitah lesson from the Parshat, and today I want to talk about hard work. How do you get to become good at something? And the answer, obviously, I believe, is by learning how to do it, by working at it. Gladwell wrote that Bill Gates became Bill Gates because he spent hours, thousands of hours. Since he was in high school, he had access to computers in order to program it from a very young age. The Beatles became the Beatles because they had thousands of hours of practice when they played together in bars in Germany. And if we want our children to be experts or at least proficient and know how to understand our classic Jewish text, the Torah, they have to practice as well. We can inspire them and connect them, but there is no substitute for the hard work that goes into understanding Jewish text. Let's take a look at a text and I'll show you where I see this from. In our Parshat Vayakhel Pekudei, we read about the construction of the Mishkan. How do these people know how to build the Mishkan? These people were slaves. So there's two basic lines of thought. One is presented by the Nitziv, Rabbi Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berliner. And he says, listen, they were inspired. People who wanted to do this work, they never had any practice at all, but it was a miracle and they were blessed with divine inspiration. All right, if it's divine inspiration, it's a miracle. That's one possible understanding. Another possible understanding, I think, is the direction that's sort of indicated in the commentary of the Kitah, Kabbalah, a commentary written by Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi Mecklenburg. Rabbi Mecklenburg comments on one pasuk in Shemot, Perek Lamed Hey. See, I just changed that. Magic of the internet. So the Torah is describing the people that were building the Mishkan, and the Torah tells us that God milei otam chachmat lev, that God filled them with wisdom of the heart, la'asot kol melechet charash v'choshev, to do all of the work of charash v'choshev. Charash v'choshev literally is translated as charash is hewing out, carving, choshev is calculating, and rokem is weaving, batchelet ube'argaman ube'tolat shani b'shesh, with the different kinds of beautiful tapestries, the beautiful materials that they had. Okay, so how did they do that? God filled them with chachmat lev. Says Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi Mecklenburg, it isn't just that God filled them with this wisdom. Rather, there was something else that went into it as well. He says, why is it called charash? It's called charash. The word charash means to carve. But the word charash, if we copy it out here, the word charash also is connected to the word choresh, which means to plow. Choresh is plowing. So he says, why does it use the language of lashon charash? Ala choshev machshavot. Someone who's thinking, charash v'choshev. Someone who considers and calculates. Plows and calculates. Why are those connected? Eich yashlim ezedavar. How do you complete it? Why? Because if a person trying to calculate something, the vishu gamkein inyan charisha. There's an element of plowing as well. What is plowing? Zeosek b'achsharat karka lizriya. Plowing is the idea of preparing the ground for planting. V'zeh osek behechsher machshavi. And the other one, the guy who's the planner, is engaged in hechsher, preparation of thought. Hazmanat tachbulot. Inviting tachbulot are capabilities. Asher al yadam yushlam hadavar muvukash. That through them will be completed the thing that you want to complete, that is desired. Says, and I think what he's saying, I think he's saying this is, that the idea of preparation, that in order to come to proper calculations, you have to also plow. There's a level of plowing, there's an involvement, there's hard work. If you want to have a beautiful outcome, you can't just choshev. You have to have charash v'choshev. There's an element of preparation, of seeding the field, of being ready to do the work. And only when you do the adequate preparation and you prepare in the proper way, only then when you go to do the actual work will it come out well. If you do no preparation at all, if you're not ready to do the work, if you don't have the proper training, if you haven't learned how to do it, you don't understand it, then there's no way for you to be able to do the work in a proper way. I think this is something that's so important when we come to teaching our children as well, especially in Judaism. So one of the big buzzwords in Judaism today is meaning and connection and inspiration. I think, obviously, I agree. Those are really important things. Our children need to be inspired, and they need to understand the meaning and the connection and why we do the things that we do. But they also need the tools and need the proper preparation. And sometimes I fear that one comes at the expense of the other. Kids can be inspired and motivated and want to learn, but that inspiration comes and goes. It goes in waves, and that's natural. But what happens if they're inspired, but they don't have the tools to learn? They don't know how to open a chumash. They can't read the psukim, and they can't understand it on their own. It's always something that has to be given to them. I believe strongly that our job as parents and educators is to give them tools. Not to give them the fish, but to teach them how to fish. That when they come to the Beit Knesset, when they come to shul and they open a book or they come to a shiur, they're able not only to hear what they're hearing, but also to read the text, to understand it and evaluate it on their own. It's something I work on in my life's work, but I think something that's so important for us to come back to. Teaching the idea of understanding and learning skills. Because when a child has skills, then that child can not only understand the meaning, but find the meaning on his or her own. Have a Shabbat Shalom.